just started listening, you're going to be hearing myself, which is, it's really weird to be recording myself and watching myself at the same time. But right now I'm recording a podcast on my laptop. I'm live streaming in my Facebook group. And what I'm going to be talking about is why you're stuck. You may be stuck on a particular lift. You may be stuck on life in general. You may be stuck about just moving forwards. But I teach this stuff in my seminars the whole time. And I thought, fuck it. Because I made a commitment to producing more high quality content recently. And I realised that started with me. It can't just rest upon what everyone else is doing. So I wanted to give not only the guys and girls in the Facebook group, but also the people who are listening to my podcast, because it's like almost 400 people in the Facebook group, almost 10,000 people listening to the podcast, and that just is crazy for me. So I've decided, as I said, to put out a bit more proper content, a bit more of an insight into the coaching that I put forward to my athletes. So why are you stuck? Why are you stuck in the training phase that you're in? Why are you stuck and not hitting PRs? Why are you stuck in life generally? It all comes down to one thing, and that's essentially our beliefs. So let's backstep a bit before we get into that, because all we need to do, and for you guys just listening to the podcast, what you won't be able to see is the fact that I'm writing on whiteboard at the same time. And on the far right side, I'm writing down actions and behaviours. Because actions and behaviours, as my whiteboard falls down, actions and behaviours are all we need to do in order to achieve what we want to do, who we want to be is probably a better way of putting that. But saying all you need to do is so fucking misleading, because we know it's all we need to do. We know it. Like it's like the people who say, "Oh, just be happy." Oh, thanks. I wish I just tried. That's really helpful actually. But we need to be able to make ourselves be doing stuff. And this idea of like, I'm going to make myself be more successful. I'm going to make myself perform the behaviours and the actions that I need to behave or to perform. It's bullshit, because we're fighting our subconscious. We're fighting the most powerful force within us, and that's our subconscious. Our subconscious is this ridiculously powerful story that we tell ourselves, and it's formed through 4 different areas. And for you guys listening to the podcast as well, this is something I'm writing on the board, but so if I turn away and I go all quiet, what you realise is that our environment, okay, our environment is one of the things that influences our beliefs, and this is in a roundabout way, because, well, let me backtrack. What do I mean by environment? By environment, I mean the zeitgeist, if you let me use a German word. It's like the general feeling that we're in, the time. Like, for example, the 60s was a very different feeling to now. Like, now it's very millennial. Now it's very like, it's free thinking in a different way, but now it's very millennial in terms of entrepreneurship and almost capitalism, but it's a new time of information. Whereas you compare that to the 60s, the 70s, mainly 60s, like that love. You look at the 80s and there's that kind of angst that was everywhere. And the environment influences these beliefs. And we'll get to the importance of beliefs in a second. The other thing is our education. Our education, what I mean by this is what I've been told, whether that's by friends, whether it's in a more formal environment, whether that is from family, whether it's from our parents, teachers, whatever. We've been told this story, and these experiences in different ways are going to influence our beliefs as well. So education, our environment, and as I was alluding to, our experience as well. Our experience is one of the things that massively influences our beliefs. Experiences like just what shit happens. So if you keep on failing at shit, then your belief is, I'm always going to fail. Like, it's that simple. So our experiences is also influencing our beliefs. And lastly, like we can't underplay this. Evolution. We get this genetic memory passed down, and this genetic memory also influences our beliefs. And these beliefs are our subconscious story. Our subconscious story influences every kind of action we have. If I believe that I'm the type of person who will always fail, guess what? I'm going to begin performing the actions that are congruent with always failing. And what's more is, when we perform an action because of a belief, that reinforces the belief that we're that way inclined, and then it goes round and round and round, because it becomes another experience that influences our beliefs, which therefore influences our actions and behaviours. And this shit just goes round. And it's, from a coaching point of view, it's heartbreaking to see. The great example of this is when we look at CrossFit and the way that came into training. Suddenly, CrossFit became, like, until CrossFit came along is probably a better way of putting it. Until CrossFit came along, we had these very black and white rules of this is how you must train. You can't be strong and fit at the same time. There's no way that you can snatch 140 kilos and also run a sub 6 minute mile. It just wasn't possible until CrossFit came along, and we had to fucking reassess everything, and suddenly it's possible, and suddenly it's not just one or two people but the entire CrossFit Games who are doing it. So this massively influences us on a huge level. And just look at how people defend these beliefs as well. Like, I don't know which is more controversial and which is more heavily defended, but look at religion and how we defend those beliefs. Like, personally, if you believe a certain thing, that's beautiful. That's your choice and that's beautiful. But in terms of religion, I step back and I think, well, someone's wrong, so that's my belief. But you get people literally killing people over whose story is better, whose belief is better. And that isn't meant to be condescending, but that's fact, okay? It's absolute fact. So belief leads to actions and behaviour. Sorry, my girlfriend's just messaging me at the same time as we're doing this. Harry, you're going to have to leave me alone. So, beliefs go to actions and behaviours at the same time. And then that reinforces belief. If we look at CrossFit, like, that's one thing. Let's look at my own personal story. My own personal story when I was growing up was, I'm weak, I'm skinny, I'm never going to be successful, I'm always going to be unhappy. Those are my four things that I went round and round and round in my head. And because I believed I was always being skinny, this went round. Oh, what's the fucking point? Like, I can eat well for a bit, but I look back in the mirror and I see the fact that I'm already, like, I'm still skinny, so what's the point of trying? And, like, you know, I'm weak as well, so, like, what's the point of going to the gym, because it's been a week and I haven't got any gains, and, like, what's the fucking point of trying from this point? And what we do is we select the evidence that is around us to reinforce the beliefs. We act, instead of acting like a scientist, we start to act like a lawyer. A lawyer gets all this evidence, a lawyer gets his case, and then the verdict comes across, and the verdict is backed up by the evidence that he chooses to see. Whereas a scientist looks at the evidence, forms a hypothesis, and then tests a theory. And that's what we need to begin doing. We need to, instead of deciding this is how I am, we need to look at the evidence as a whole and stop selecting the evidence to fit our story and to fit our beliefs. Because until we change that method, until we change the fact of identifying the evidence to form our beliefs, we're not going to change our actions. So this happens on a macro level, right? So the macro level is in something along the lines of, let's go for, let's use the obvious one, I'm never going to reach the CrossFit Games. If you believe that, all of your nutrition will go to shit. And this sounds like airy-fairy bullshit sometimes, but you've got to realise that our mental processes is like walking through a field of grass. And the more we walk one track, the more we walk down that grass, and the more we pat down that grass. And once we've patted down the grass, that path becomes obvious, and that's the way we go. So if you go down this path and it leads to thinking, I'm a shit athlete and I'm never going to make it, then because of that, if we do it once and twice and 3 times and 4 times, it's going to become more natural to go down that path. Whereas if we start to forge a different path, it gets very difficult to begin with. We have to really push through the foliage, and the old path is still there, and it's so much easier to go down the old path or the wrong path, but we need to forge through and find that new space. So if we look at the macro goal, it's going to find it very difficult to push through, and or if we try and change it, it's going to find it very difficult to push through that. And on a macro side, and also on a micro side as well. Like if you're in the middle of a WOD and you're thinking, oh man, my legs are fucking burning. It's not going to increase the burning in your legs, but it will make you more aware of it and more likely to quit. If you're thinking, let's take from two different elements as well. If you're thinking, I'm going to quit, I'm going to quit, I'm going to quit, I'm going to quit, then guess what? You're going to quit. Like that is just what happens. The interesting thing is also when you start to think, I don't want to quit. I don't want to quit because I don't want to gets quieter. And the quit gets louder. So it starts off as I don't want to quit, and it ends up as I don't want to quit. I don't want to quit. I don't want to quit. And that quit gets louder and louder and louder and louder. So, in light of this, it's a very good idea to pay attention to these beliefs. And the way we do that is twofold. Number one, in the middle of WODs, we listen intently, and this is what my course Intensity Tolerance 101 was all about. It's about listening intently to that voice inside your head, and listening intently to what you're saying to yourself whilst you're WODing. And then on the second side of it as well, we need to pay attention outside of the WODs as well, because it's not just training that gets us to where we want to be. It's our nutrition, it's our general health. It's, do we go to the doctors when we're fucking ill? Do we do the things that take us towards our ultimate goal? And this is where it becomes very important to start, not necessarily analysing, but becoming aware of these beliefs. So, what we do is we write them down. Once we've written them down, then we can start to question this. And I will come back to this in another live stream / podcast. But for now, I think it's a super important thing to understand that these beliefs form everything we do. So just to recap, your environment, your education, your experience and your evolution, whilst my iPhone storage is full, thank you very much. My environment, my education, my experience, and evolution in general influence my beliefs. These form my subconscious patterns. These are my subconscious story. And I'll only ever act within my subconscious story, because no matter how much conscious fight we put over the top, it's never gonna beat that reptilian inside part of our head, the very core of our central nervous system. Is never going to be able to bypass that subconscious story. And this influences our actions and behaviours, which reinforce our beliefs. So when we identify our beliefs, when we start to weigh up whether this is true or untrue, and then find evidence to support the contrary, we can change these beliefs. And that, ladies and gents, is a bombshell to end this podcast on, or / live stream. So on the live stream, I'm now going to open this up to any questions. The guys listening on the podcast, guys and girls and folks and non-gender binary people, just you can pop into this group. The group's called Mindset for Functional Athletes / Mindset RX. And if you guys, did it again, guys, girls and folks, have any questions whatsoever, jump in the group and please ask them. Live streamers, I'm going to finish this now. Any questions whatsoever, put them in the group. Podcasters, I'm going to sign off with you guys right now. So, if you enjoyed this slightly different style of podcasting, I'm going to put this stuff out more often because I think it's really important for you. But if you enjoyed it, please let me know. Reach out to me on social media. Reach out to me through through Instagram or Facebook. That's the best two to reach out to me. Or if you're interested, if you want a more in-depth conversation, head over to mindsetrx.com and read the blogs there, or send me an email at tom@alphamovement.co, and I'll be coming back to you very, very soon. And what we'll do is we'll keep this going, and if any questions, as always, just shout. As always, leave a 5-star review on iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcast. I'll speak to you guys very soon.